So if you put 10 grand into an ETF 10 years ago and left it there versus investing $100 a month into the same ETF over those 10 years, which one would have made you more money? The conventional advice from investors like Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, and John Bogle is simple. Invest consistently, stay in the market, and let compounding do the work. But how does that advice play out when we compare these two strategies using real data? To find out, I analyzed 10 years of performance across a range of ASX ETFs. By the end of this video, you'll see which approach came out ahead, which ETFs produced the strongest results, and what the comparison means for how you should invest your money in 2026. Let's get into it. Part 1, the setup. Let's set up the two investors properly. Investor 1 puts $10,000 into a single fund on 30th of June 2016 and leaves it invested until 30th of June 2026. Investor 2 invests $100 at the end of each month for 120 months, contributing $12,000 in total, with the portfolio also valued on 30 June 2026. The calculations use the fund's actual total returns after fund fees, with distributions reinvested. They exclude brokerage, tax, and the bid-ask spread. This is also a mathematical backtest that assumes every $100 contribution is invested immediately using fractional ETF units. In practice, ASX ETFs are generally purchased in whole units, and the first purchase of a new holding usually needs to be at least $500. After that, a $100 contribution still may not be fully invested. If an ETF costs $75, for example, you can only buy one unit and leave roughly $25 in cash. If it costs more than $100, you may not be able to buy a unit at all that month. A real investor may therefore need to let the cash accumulate and invest every few months, which would slightly change the results. But in this comparison, we'll compare final balance, dollar profit, and annualized return, because each measure tells a slightly different story. Part 2, the lump sum results. Let's start with a $10,000 lump sum. At number 10, GDX, the Global Gold Miners ETF, finished at roughly $33,000. IWLD came in just below $37,000. Its result needs some context because BlackRock changed the fund's benchmark in 2021, so its 10-year history spans two different index strategies. VGS, Vanguard's International Shares ETF, also finished at around $37,000. MVR, the Australian Resources ETF, and Moat, the Wide Moat US Equities ETF, both reached roughly $38,000. IHOO finished at about $42,000. It is currency hedged, which means it aims to reduce the direct effect of foreign currency movements against the Aussie dollar. It does not remove currency effects or hedging costs completely. IAA, which tracks 50 major Asian companies, also finished at around $42,000. Then the broad US funds pulled ahead. VTS grew to roughly $44,000, while IVV, which tracks the S&P 500, also finished at about $44,000. But NDQ was in a completely different league. The NASDAQ 100 fund turned $10,000 into roughly $76,000, more than 7.5 times the original investment. That works out to an annualized fund return of roughly 22% a year. IVV and VTS returned around 16%, while VGS returned around 14%. A difference of 6 or 8 percentage points a year becomes enormous when it compounds for a full decade. Every result here assumes the entire $10,000 was invested at the beginning and remained exposed for the full decade. But what happens when a similar amount is invested gradually at just $100 a month? If you assume the rankings would barely move, you'd be wrong. Part 3, the $100 a month results. Now we use the same eligible group and the same end date, but invest the money through 120 separate monthly contributions totaling $12,000. At number 10, VGS finished at roughly $26,000, with IWLD just ahead of it at approximately the same rounded amount. IHOO, GOLD, VTS, IVV, and PM Gold all finished at around $28,000. IAA moved up to third place at roughly $30,000. GDX climbed to second with around $34,000, while NDQ remained number 1 at approximately $38,000. So under the lump sum strategy, NDQ finished at more than double GDX. Under monthly investing, the difference narrowed to under $5,000. The leaderboard changed as well. PM Gold and Gold entered the monthly top 10, replacing Moat and MVR. Gold-related exposure appeared 3 times through Gold, PM Gold, and GDX, compared with only GDX in the lump sum top 10. The other two eligible funds were Moat, which finished at $23,596, and MVR, which finished at $23,486. Part 4, who actually had the better return? Among the 10 strongest monthly results, the lump sum strategy still produced a larger final balance in 9. NDQ finished at roughly $76,000 from the lump sum versus $38,000 from the monthly strategy. IVV, VTS, IAA, and the international share funds told a similar story. GDX was the only fund with a higher final account balance under monthly investing, roughly $34,000 $34,000 versus $33,000 from the lump sum. But the monthly investor contributed an extra $2,000, so that final account balance does not tell us who made more profit. After subtracting contributions, the GDX lump sum produced roughly $23,000 of profit, while the monthly strategy produced about $22,000. The lump sum therefore made just under $1,000 more profit, even though its final account balance was lower. So among these 10 monthly leaders, none of the monthly strategies produced more dollar profit than the corresponding $10,000 lump sum investment. That does not mean monthly investing performed badly. That's not the whole story, because we need a separate measurement to account for the fact that each monthly contribution was invested for a different length of time. But before we move on, if you want access to our full ETF research newsletter, where we cover international themes most Aussie investors aren't talking about, including defense, precious metals, and robotics, click the link below and start your free trial. No credit card required. Part 5, the correct way to compare annualized returns. CAGR or CAGR works for the lump sum because there is one starting amount, one ending amount, and one holding period. NDQ's lump sum return was roughly 22% a year. Ordinary CAGR does not work for the monthly strategy. The first $100 was invested for almost the full decade, while the final contribution was invested for only about 1 month. For dated contributions like this, we can use XIRR. It calculates a single money-weighted annual return based on the size and date of every cash flow. That makes XIRR the return experienced by this hypothetical investor. It is not the same as the fund's time-weighted performance return, so the two figures should be labeled separately. NDQ's monthly XIRR was roughly 22%, almost identical to its 22% lump sum CAGR. IVV and VTS were also around 16% under both approaches, but the timing effect was much larger in gold-related products. Gold increased from a lump sum return of roughly 12% to a monthly XIRR of around 16%. PM Gold also moved from around 12% to 16%, which leads us to the next section. Part 6, why the gold-related funds behave differently. Why did contribution timing matter more for gold and gold miners than it did for NDQ or the broad US funds? A lump sum benefits most when an investment rises strongly over time because all the capital participates from the beginning. Monthly investing can benefit from a different pattern. Prices fall or remain weak while contributions continue, allowing the investor to acquire more units, and the investment subsequently recovers. Volatility by itself is not an advantage. The sequence of the returns matters. NDQ delivered a strong overall upward trend across the decade. The earliest dollars therefore had the longest period to compound, giving the lump sum investor a substantial head start. Gold and gold miners followed a less consistent path. They experienced weak periods, sharp pullbacks, and a later recovery. The lump sum investor remained fully invested throughout the period. The monthly investor, meanwhile, continued buying additional units when prices were lower. When the recovery arrived, those lower price purchases lifted the monthly investor's money-weighted return. That is why GDX produced a monthly XIRR close to 20%, even though its 10-year lump sum return was only around 13% a year. This resembles the base and trend pattern I've discussed in other videos. The monthly investor was able to accumulate units throughout the weaker period before the eventual breakout. But this only helps if the investment recovers. If it continues falling or never returns to its previous level, dollar cost averaging simply builds a larger position in a losing investment. Part 7, the equal capital illustration. The main comparison still gives the monthly investor an extra $2,000. So what happens if we increase the upfront investment to the same $12,000 of total contributed capital? Once the contributed capital is equal, the lump sum wins in both cases by roughly $53,000 in NDQ and $5,000 in GDX. That does not contradict the XIRR results. XIRR measures the annual return of each dollar, while final wealth also depends on how long that money was invested. GDX rewarded the timing of the monthly contributions, but the upfront investment gave every dollar almost the full decade of compound. This result aligns with the study Charles Schwab did, where they tested 80 rolling 20-year periods in the S&P 500 dating back to 1926. Investing available money immediately finished ahead of monthly contributions in 70 out of 80 of these periods. So here's the real takeaway. If you already have a lump sum available and you're prepared to invest it for the long term, putting it to work earlier has historically produced the better result more often because markets tend to rise over long periods. But it also creates more short-term timing risk, and your risk tolerance still matters. If all you have available is $100 a month from your income, monthly investing is not an inferior version of lump sum investing. It is simply investing the money as it becomes available. The most important lesson is not that one method always wins. It is that money available today and money earned gradually in the future are two different situations, and they should not be treated as if they were the same decision. Now, if you like this video and want to stay ahead and discover ETF opportunities that most Australian investors are missing, make sure you subscribe to my weekly ETF research newsletter. Right now, there's 20% off yearly subscriptions, and if you grab the yearly one, you get a 20-minute one-on-one call with me where I'll explain to you exactly how it all works. Click the link below.